Okay, so today we're going to be focusing on the different tools you'll be using in the lab most commonly. The first one that we're going to be using is the nose adjustment pliers. So as you can see here, there is a little bit of an indent that fits inside of here where your nose pad is. So as you can see here again, it fits in perfectly just right there. You're able to bend in or bend out in small increments and not break either the nose pad or the nose pad arm. So, and then what you want to do is come in and out to make sure that they're even on both sides. You never want to do this backwards or you will puncture the nose pad and then have to replace that. So always make sure that it fits in there snugly in the direction that it needs to be facing for the nose pad pliers. What we'll be using is the round flat pliers. And so what you do with this for adjustments is that you'll want to take this flat part with the nylon sleeve on anything that has a coated surface, like this nice edge of the frame. You never want to do it backwards. That will take the gloss off the frame. So you'll actually bend here in the middle. This is used to tighten the frame on the temples on either side or to widen them out. So again, you always want to use the round side on the inside of the frame, never the opposite way here to adjust the frame. So the next one we have here is your flat nylon pliers. This one can also be used if you cannot get that round section in, the one we just spoke of here. This can also do adjustments in or out. This one works better probably on a plastic frame versus one that is a metal or a semi-rimless frame as well, so that you'll be able to modify in and out. It also works well for nose pads when you have one that is a push, that you're able to snap them in here. So this is a pretty versatile tool that you're able to use on a lot of different adjustments. So probably this one is one that's going to become in very handy, as well as this tool here, which is the chain nose pliers as well. You're able to use this with intricate things to hold screws here on the temples, to also hold nose pads, or to hold the nose pad arms in place as well for adjustments. So these two, again, the chain nose pliers here or the flat nose pliers, are able to use on all types of adjustments. So the next one we're going to be using is the clipping pliers. These are actually very sharp. You can use this to cut the ends of screws off, as well as to cut nylon string on a semi-rimless frame. So as you can see here, we don't have a lens in here. And so what you would necessarily do with this, say that this was too big or too small or it was broken, you're able to cut this out of the frame here, snipping this, so you're able to pull this out of the frame like that, and then rethread the string here. So this has multiple uses as well. The one thing is that you do not want to use this to cut titanium. It will dull the pliers as well. So these are some of the ones that you won't use very often. This is an eye wire shaping tool. And so as you can see here, there's a little groove in here, and then this you have in a half moon or a half rounded shape. Essentially what you do with this is that if you're not able to get a lens in there properly or need a little bit more of a bend, this will actually, as you can see, put the top of the frame in the groove, and then you're able to slightly adjust this and to bend to make this give it a little bit more of a rounded shape in order to get the lens to fit properly, especially if you're putting a lens that's not from a specific frame into this, trying to salvage something in an emergency situation. So, like I said, more or less uncommon to use, but it's good to know how to use that. So another uncommon tool that you may use from time to time when you're checking in a pair of glasses and the axis is not quite spot on, you're able to use this axis tool. So on either end, there is a rubber face on either side. What you will do is that you will find the direction of the axis, whether you need to go clockwise or counterclockwise. You then place the pads right onto the lens. Now it's very important to make sure that you have full coverage on either side so that you do not scratch the anti-glare coating on there. You then grip very tightly onto here, and then you ever so slightly, whether you're going clockwise or counterclockwise, move the pliers in that direction, which will then turn the lens to the appropriate axis if it's within reason. So again, you won't use these very often, but if you do get that back from the lab and it's only 1 or 2 degrees off, this is a handy tool to make sure that they are getting the best visual acuity on the correct axis. So today we're going to be doing the ultrasonic cleaner today. The reason that you would use an ultrasonic cleaner is if, say, a patient or guest brings in a pair of glasses that needs to be cleaned. The most important thing that you do when you bring in a pair of glasses is to remove the lenses. If they have any type of coating like a hard scratch coat or an anti-glare, that will actually come off in the ultrasonic cleaner. So you will want to make sure that you remove the lenses first here. So we'll take these out. So you'll take them out of each side. And so then you will put the entire frame in. So this works fantastic on plastic and metal frames as well. But again, the most important thing is to take the lenses out. All right, so then this is how to clean and fill up the ultrasonic cleaner. You want to do this at least weekly, or when you see it start to become dirty. So you'll bring this off here. As you can see, there's nothing in there. When you do dump out the old water that's in there, you'll want to make sure you wash it out with soap and water, and then also use an alcohol wipe to wipe out so that it is disinfected. So the first thing you want to do is you can fill it up with hot or warm water, whatever you can get your hands on. Fill it up there. So at about halfway, you want to be able to make sure that those larger frames can actually fit down inside the well. And then you can either use Dawn dish soap, or there's this ultrasonic cleaner material. This is very concentrated, so what you're going to want to do is just put probably a half a cap full in there. So not very much. Put that in there, and that's all you do. And then that should last you, like I said, about a week's time unless you have a lot coming in. So once you do that, you take your pair of glasses here, put them just right there in the ultrasonic cleaner, and then you'll turn it for the appropriate amount of time. If they are really bad, you could turn it to the full. We'll turn on for that sound. There's a high and low on there as well. I would normally just keep it on the high. The other thing that's important to notice with this as well, if the frame is in bad repair, so it will ding when it's done, but if the frame is in bad shape, I would watch paint as well, so to make sure that the paint's not coming off. You want to test this because this really can strip a lot of stuff off, and you don't want to damage a patient's frame, especially if they did not purchase it from us at our stores. Perfect, so you put your glasses in, and then you'll set the timer for the appropriate amount of time that you feel would work best for the glasses and how bad they are if they need to be cleaned. One thing to pay attention to with the pair of glasses that they are bringing in is that if the paint is coming off or that the frame is really not in that great of shape, you want to make sure that you just do it in small increments instead of just putting it in there for the full amount of time, so that way you're not damaging the frame and then the frame is completely unusable and then the patient is unable to see. All right, so now we have our frame warmer. This is probably the tool that you will use most often, whether it's on metal frames or plastic frames. The first thing to note here is that with this specific one, there is a button here on the back to turn it on. However, here is where the power switch is that turns on the heater. So if you don't turn both on, you won't have any heat coming out the front. The next thing that we want to pay attention to is when you do push this, there will be the temperature gauge right here on the front that will tell you how hot it needs to be. This one goes up to 145 degrees. Most often we try and keep it at about 135 so that you don't melt the frame. So kind of keep in mind of we don't want it too hot but yet too cool that it takes too long for the adjustment. So the next thing is that your air will come out here in the front part. We've got the curves here, so what you'll want to do is this is able to put the temples through on the side, or as well as a complete pair of glasses, you're able to get that down right where the heat needs to be. So if it's too hot and blowing up in your face, there is this lid that you can close down and still keep the glasses inside to do the adjustment there. So as a safety precaution as well if you need to use that. Okay, so here what we're going to do is adjust a pair of glasses. As you can see here with this particular pair of frames, this temple is raised where this one is laying flat against the table. What we want to do is, this is called a bench alignment, where both temples are sitting flush against the tabletop. So with this, the way we're going to adjust this frame is you're actually going to adjust here at the bridge, not on the temples per se, as you can actually break the spring hinges off the temples. So what we're going to do is turn on our heater and then warm up here at the bridge. So we'll do that right now. And so again, you're going to place this right in front of the bridge. You don't want to just hold it there. You actually want to have some movement as it heats up. So then we have that nice and warm. So you're actually going to twist the frame ever so slightly, because it's nice and pliable now with the heat, to be able to get this to be bench aligned. So now, as you can see now, both temples are sitting on the tabletop there. All right, so we love the frame warmer. It works very well. However, if you go too much, you can actually get something like this. You can melt the frame. So that's why I say pay attention to the temperature gauge on the side, as well as not holding them down in front and then thinking about other things and not paying attention to the frame. They do heat up very quickly. This can actually melt, and especially if you pinch that, then you actually ruin the groove to put the lens in. The other thing is too, if any of your lenses have anti-glare on them, the heat can actually craze the front of the anti-glare coating on there. So you always want to, if at all possible, to cover the lenses with your hands and heat them up like this, or take the lenses out if you're doing a major adjustment. So say if someone brings in a pair of glasses that were sat on or stepped on, it's always very important to try and take those lenses out, so in order not to craze the anti-glare on that. So again, be careful with the frame warmer, because it can do this.